guess we have to say one monkey can't stop a show, huh?
You do stop the show.
I always say one monkey don't say, yeah, they can. They can slow it down. Taylor.
What's up? How you doing?
All right, you doing okay, sir?
Yeah, for now. Yeah, for now. How you holding up?
Okay.
Want to trade a brother for a sister?
No, we speaking to each other right now.
Yeah,
We're
charge
in
off the mouth.
good shape with
Exactly.
each other right now, so.
Kellogg's straight in.
No, we in love with one another right now, so I'm gonna keep mine.
My mom always tell me, she said, keep on, I'm gonna take you back to Sears. I said, what?
Yeah, wanna make a trade?
Take me back to Sears, return you to the catalog.
Since, after my bout with COVID, we got extra clothes out there. Extra clothes.
I heard that Brittany on the phone.
We have, Commissioner Peterson is online. We're just waiting for you to get situated.
Yeah. Yes, slow motion. Come on, yeah? Yeah, I trade you a brother for a sister.
Our attorney is, our attorney is also,
Zoom?
oh, this is Brandy. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Things
No,
happen.
we can't.
Yeah, things happen.
Okay, let me, they said that they're talking, but we can't hear them. So you got everybody muted on?
Yeah, it's muted.
Okay, everybody's
Hers is
muted?
muted.
You can unmute them.
No. No, we cannot. Okay, I'm so glad you called me. We need to work this out and see what's going on. Okay.
Can you?
Hi. Shit, everybody on?
She said they can hear us, but we cannot hear them. Okay, children, put up the doors. Is everybody muted?
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
Yeah, they're talking and we can't hear you.
Alright.
Somebody's trying to get on with an iPhone and they've been trying to get on for a while.
If they can hear. Can they hear?
Brittany Owens, will you see if you can unmute and speak, please?
Yes, can you all hear me?
Yeah, we
Fine.
can hear you now.
So it's something with hers.
Okay, Commissioner Peterson.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, very good.
All right, voice check. All right.
Uh-uh.
Cordon?
Attorney Eddings, can you hear and can you be heard?
I can hear.
All right,
Hear me.
all right, thank you, sir.
All right. Everybody can hear? All right. Monthly meeting of the Little Rock
You don't
Housing
have to
Authority
speak
doing.
louder and move.
Can everybody hear? Hello?
Yes, we can hear
I
you.
hear you fine.
Huh?
We can hear you.
All right. The monthly meeting of the Little Rock Housing Authority doing business as the Metropolitan Housing Alliance is called to order. Ms. McKinney, will you please call the roll?
Sure. Commissioner Lowe,
Here.
Commissioner Lindsey, Commissioner Jackson,
Here.
Commissioner Anthony,
Here.
Commissioner Peterson,
Here.
you have a quorum.
You have before you the agenda, any additions, subtractions, modifications? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the agenda as printed.
Second.
It's been moved and probably second that we accept the agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, none. The chair does reserve the right to move things around for speaking, see? You had a minutes from July the 15th. Any additions, subtractions, substitutions?
Motion to approve the minutes of July 15th.
Second.
It's been moved and probably second that we adopt the minutes of the July 15th meeting. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, none. I don't have any cards for any public participation. So, Mr. Delaney.
My team and I sent you guys a detailed board report summarizing every different department. At this time, I am willing to answer any questions I can.
I have just one question. We had, 87 emergency vouchers, and to date, we have only utilized 30 of them. Are there any identifiable barriers, since there is still such an issue out in our community, why we have not dispersed of any more than 30 of the 80+ vouchers that we had?
Connie, did you hear that question?
I did. Today, board, we have over 105 referrals. We have one person who's working on those referrals, and she is going through the process of running the background checks as well as the required EIV system. So it is a process. We did issue over 30 vouchers, but we do have over 100 referrals. So we're working on that. And another issue that she indicated that she was having was she did invite people to the briefings, the voucher briefings, but some individuals failed to show up for those briefings. But she is processing everything, and she is working to get those vouchers out as quickly as possible. But again, she has to do the required background checks and EID process before we can get them approved.
Is that an
So we only have
in-house?
30?
Is that an in-house process, or is it something that's being done by somebody else?
The EID is in-house. The background check is something that we do as well in-house, but again, she's processing everything herself.
All right.
Is that the reason why they're not going very quickly?
Actually, sir, I would say we're processing, we're expediting everything and working as quickly as possible. In all actuality, I think we are processing these EHB vouchers in comparison to our regular HCD program much quicker. But again, there are limitations in that we have to make sure that we are abiding by HUD's policies and procedures, meaning we have to make sure that we are actually doing the background checks, and those things can take a couple days before they even return back to us. So we have to wait for that process to complete itself. and then we have to do the EIV process. And that's not just for the head of household, that's for everyone in the household. So if we have 5 to 10 people in the household, we have to do an EIV check for every person in the household. And again, that's time consuming when you only have one person working on the process.
Okay. What's the status of the FSS and the home ownership program?
FSS program, we have actually increased enrollment for our FSS program, as well as established a new PCC committee. Right now, we have not issued any additional homeownership vouchers, as she is just reviewing any requests. We need to make sure that those people who are requesting homeownership are actually eligible and meeting the criteria for the program.
Numbers. How many are in FSS? And how many are seeking home ownership?
On our FSS program, I apologize to you, I don't have those actual numbers. I will say that we did increase our numbers. I want to say we are actually meeting our mandated number from HUD. So I would say we would have, if I had to guess right now, and I apologize for guessing, we have over 30 people on our FSS program, which is above our required or mandated number from HUD.
Is there still recruitment going on
Yes, sir.
for FSS and home ownership?
Yes, sir.
Do you all keep those monthly numbers of not only inquiries, but those stats per month, per week? What's the timeline?
Myself and my FSS coordinator have bi-weekly meetings to address any issues or concerns that we may have with the FSS program. We are actively recruiting in that when we send out our certification notices, we let individuals know that we do have an FSS program, and anyone who's interested can reach out to our FSS coordinator for any additional information.
So, I mean, how's the information getting to the tenants?
We're mailing that information out with the recertification packets.
Meaning when they have to recertify or first come,
Yes,
first
sir.
serve?
Yes, sir, when they have to recertify.
Okay.
Director Johnson, are you finding that the rising cost of housing is deterring some of our clients from trying to get into new home ownership?
I see that as being an issue. I also see the fact that one of the requirements for being in our home ownership is that you have a consistent work history. And so that's an issue when we have clients who may not maintain employment in the required length of time. So there are many reasons why individuals are not seeking home ownership, and everybody doesn't want to be homeowners. That's just a fact. You know, a lot of people may not want to be homeowners, but those who do and inquire, we make sure that they are meeting HUD's regulations and requirements for being a homeowner.
Has HUD taken into the account of COVID as to why many may not have a job? And I know we have some waivers on the books that address that.
But there are issues with, that may be one of the issues, yes. But when you think of homeownership, you have to think of, the long-term effect of being a homeowner. You know, if you don't have a consistent work history, it's going to be hard for you to maintain a mortgage. And we don't ever want to set anyone up for failure. So if it's someone who has a spotty work history, we have to take that into account when we're looking at homeowners or those who may want to be homeowners. But we don't necessarily, shoo that person away. We provide resources, homeownership counseling information to let so that they can attend and get more information on what it takes to be a homeowner, because it's easy to get into it, but it's hard to maintain. So again, we want to make sure that our clients we're setting up our clients for success and not failure.
Okay.
Thank you, Director Johnson.
I'm sorry, board, if you allow, I need to address the board and ask, or beg of a favor of the board, if you don't mind.
What's the concern?
It's concerning COVID and the directive that we received to return to work 100%.
Okay, what's the concern?
Okay, sir, please allow me to address the board. My concern is that we are living in unprecedented time and dealing with an unprecedented virus. A virus that has caused the Little Rock to be amongst the states with the highest COVID rates. But with all of this, the board has directed the staff to return to work 100%, eliminating the staggered schedule option. As we speak, I have a member in the hospital with COVID in critical condition and is fighting for her life. I have staff, including myself, who are quarantined because we have had direct contact with her. I have a staff member who is so scared of this directive and concerned about the health and safety of her daughter, who has a major underlying condition, that she has chosen to use sick leave and has been off for the past 2 weeks. I also have a staff member who left today because she indicated that she was sick, and I pray that it's not due to COVID. I beg the board to reconsider this directive, but before you make your decision, let me give you a few examples of what we've been able to accomplish, all while working a staggered schedule. We reduced our recertification rate 100%. We had well over 100 delinquent recertification, but as of today, we don't have any. Staff is working 120 days from the tenant's recertification date. We successfully opened the Section 8 waiting list, and as a result, staff had to manually fold and stuff over 2,500 letters. We increased our FSS enrollment as well as established a new PCC committee. I conducted major meetings to establish community partnerships, all while working from my home office. These partnerships resulted in MHA receiving over 100 referrals for the Emergency Housing Voucher Program. MHA has currently issued 30 vouchers, 30 emergency housing vouchers, and 9 foster youth initiative vouchers. This will generate revenue in the form of administrative fees for the agencies. Working a staggered schedule has not had a negative effect on the performance of staff. Our numbers speak for themselves. So while we've not been seeing clients, we've been meeting their needs. And although we've not been in the office 100% of the time, we're still getting the work done. So again, I beg the board to please consider allowing the agency to return to a staggered schedule, as it didn't have a negative impact on the performance of the agency.
Who wants to go first?
Couple of things, Director Johnson, as I shared with Director Delaney in some of the correspondence that we had. There are 2 different policies that the board put into place. One was the COVID plan itself, and the other one was the telecommuting policy. The telecommuting policy has been suspended due to the abuse of executive management. It's hard to go to lead when you're not willing to go where you want your employees to go. And we found that we had executive staff, in one instance, was only in the office 1 week out of the entire month, and everybody else was coming to work. So the telecommuting policy was suspended. As far as the COVID plan is, and that's a separate entity altogether, we have followed the guidelines, primarily following the leads of the city of Little Rock, and what their mandates are for their staff. And that's just the way that that was set up. We followed the CDC, the health department, we follow Pulaski County government. When government says shuts down, we have shut this agency down. So we're following the mandates, and that's the way the COVID plan was set up. And it was set up to protect the individuals within the building.
Well,
I
no,
would
not
also,
only that,
I would also ask, really wanna know if all the other measures of how people are treating themselves and protecting themselves inside the building is still in force, because as part of the CARES Act, the building was supposed to be disinfected or sanitized every night.
Nightly.
Each employee was responsible for making sure the entire area was sanitized at the end of every day, in the beginning of every morning. And of course, mask requirements were in place in the building. So I hear what you're saying, and certainly if there's someone with a medical condition and in the COVID plan, that as it was set up, it was also requested that we have doctor statements for those. Certainly, we can appreciate the fact that, yeah, we are changing times, and are some people who will never return back to an office. We get that. And certainly it's something for review, but again, there are two different policies that people are talking about, and that's the telecommuting, which is under suspension due to abuse, and possibly we do need to revisit the COVID plan. But in all aspects, the COVID plan, if people are working from home, certainly you should be sustaining, because it's not fair to some folks to be invited into the office, and some people get to stay at home. And we are concerned about the quality. We're concerned that we don't have kiosks yet, which was also something that was mandated back in March, and now we have an IT person, which was the only holdup that the board was aware of, and we still don't have kiosks. So there's a couple of things that, we are in changing times, and as concerts and churchgoers and ball games and children going back to school are all part of the new regime, we do possibly need to revisit the COVID plan. But we follow the city of Little Rock, Pulaski County government, and state government in our requirement of individuals asked to come into the office.
Well, not only that, you also have the ability to stagger your times, okay?
You said we do have that ability, sir?
That is, excuse me, that has always been the ability.
Staggered times, not days in the
Right,
office.
right. Now, staggered time, meaning if a person wants to work Monday through Thursday, have Friday off, that's valid. They can work Tuesday to Friday, have Monday. That hasn't changed.
Okay, well, Commissioner, I heard you say, we are following the guidelines of state and federal recommendations. And I will say that the CDC does recommend that you stagger your shift. And again, I would,
We have that.
ask that we do that.
You've always had that. That hasn't changed.
You say stagger the shift, and I think we're probably talking about the interpretation of staggering shift versus
Time.
people actually
What time?
working from home.
Right.
Yeah.
Time.
Stagger the shift means that there's a person who, if they don't want to come into the office every day, that they work 10-hour days, Tuesday through Friday,
Yeah.
and they're at home on Monday. But again, this is something that I think we should visit on and pull some additional information to see what's taking place. But we've always, in setting the goals for COVID-19, we've always looked at what was going on around us. And you know as well as I do, you just got through talking about how we've got people who are not working consistently. And that's an issue. We need to talk
Well,
about that.
I can say to you, commissioners, that I just read off the accomplishments. So I can assure you that staff is working consistently. I can assure you that our numbers are increasing, that we're not receiving any complaints, even though we were on a staggered schedule. We didn't have major complaints. Any complaints that we had, they were addressed and resolved. So I can assure you that although we were on staggered schedule, I, as a leader of my department, made sure that we kept our numbers where we needed to be, and that we accomplished the goals that we set out to accomplish. Those goals that I came before the board, when we had our Saturday meeting, and told you what my plans were for my department. Even while we had our staggered schedule and all while we teleworked, our numbers continue to climb, and our delinquency rate continued to reduce itself to the point where we have the zero delinquency right now. So I understand what you're saying, and I too concern myself, or would concern myself if I ever had any staff who wasn't contributing or working diligently to make sure that we were moving the agency along. So I do understand that concern, and I agree with you, but I assure you that is not the case with the department, that we are working diligently. I'm so proud of my staff, and I want to be the first one to brag on my staff that they are doing the right thing, that they are working as diligently and hard as they can to make sure we accomplish our set goals. So for that, I thank you, and I turn it back over to the board.
What's the complaint? What was the complaint?
Well, and I guess we want you to know that we heard you, and it's not the telecommuting plan policy that's in question, it's the COVID plan. And I think that's something that we need to revisit often to see what adjustments that needs to be made. So, as we work with Mr. Delaney, that will be a part of our future conversation.
All right, moving right along. Didn't see your finance report.
You didn't see all of that?
Yeah, well, I mean, prior to.
You say that again?
Prior to the meeting, I didn't see your finance report. And I know it's in the packet, I hadn't had a chance to look at it.
Okay.
I have a question on the procurement package.
Okay.
The issue of security, there were a couple of issues that we had when we visited this process, and I also want to talk about the procurement policy that's still hanging out there because we have not finished the review of it. On the security, we were supposed to put the RFP out there. Has the RFP been served, and what is the status of that? We were still looking for the contract nobody could find. So what is the overall status of what's taking place in the security for Elm Street?
Well, Elm Street security, as of right now, they have no security. I was told by Chairman Lowe to tell Ken to cease and desist. The contract is, the RFP is out there. And I just looked the other day and then it didn't have any bidders. Now, I take that back. When Jada put it out there, she told everyone to put it out there and email her or Dr. Jarman. So we've been looking at Jada's emails. I asked Elena the other day, I think yesterday actually, and there was no bid. So my goal is to put it, I think we're gonna put it back out.
Yep, it's back out to bid.
For how long?
At least
30 days.
something. So,
In addition, because we're not able to get Jada's email, there was some recommendations or suggestions from the board. There was like two other security companies that the board wanted us to also, I personally, in looking at what I thought, I think it was only solicited to people that we had. So that's the other reason that it needs to be extended and put back out there. So the people that, to the board, you can't sole source
No, you can't.
the contract.
Right.
And that is.
Yeah, but that's not to stop one individual from bidding on a contract. There's a difference between sole source and single source.
When was it originally put out? Because this is
Well,
been
it
going.
originally ended July the 27th.
And from what I could see in going through the emails, it was put out that at that time, but it was, the way it was solicited, just me personally, it didn't appear to be solicited properly. And what happened was I also saw emails, and I can't remember which of the, I don't know if it was you, Chairman Anthony or Chairman Lowe, but there was two board members that also, put other, not said that this, said that there was other company. It should have been solicited all the way out across the board. So it was supposed to close on July, I think, 27th.
Yeah, July 27th,
Yeah,
24th.
and at that point, there was a conversation, like, are there any open solicitations, what's going on? There were emails from Candy to, anyway, we just, Director Delaney and I just, in the last couple of weeks, became aware of that. So it does need to be resolicited.
But where were the bids submitted?
That's it. In the email, although it was only, they were supposed to be returned, as Director Delaney said, only to Jada and Dr. Garman.
No. I mean, Naro, Fada, newspaper. What, how wide of a net was cast?
It wasn't cast wide. It was, from what I could see, it was cast through an email to Quality Security. And I'm not even for sure if it appeared on the paper. I'm not for sure.
Wait a minute,
So-
did I hear that right?
I'm not sure though. Don't quote me on that. I just know it's that I saw an email from what I've been able to see.
So, Mr. Delaney, you're going to
Okay.
legitimately put a RFP
We'll get it back out there immediately.
Yeah,
you're gonna
but the
legit-
caster, we've been having that problem for years, this agency not casting a wide enough net when we send out RFPs. So, I just advise that the net be big enough.
How long are you advertising, just as a matter of interest?
I think the normal
Put it
time
out
for
there
it's like
for
2
30
weeks,
days.
right? Is it-
Yeah, normal, others say we can put it out there for 2 weeks.
Right.
But to be fair, and since we're casting a wider net, my suggestion would be put it out there for 30 days.
I don't like that unit over there being without security for 30
I understand
days.
that.
I really don't. But anyway, as long as we remedy that situation, I don't know why the director and the procurement coordinator would utilize those techniques in advertising a position, but we need to do it according to HUD rules and get it out there so that we can possibly
I
get
agree with you.
fair, because the question is still out there as to how we went from $73,000 to $93,000
Correct.
in the first place, and no one can find a contract. So that's still an issue that is out there as we continue to look at the financial health of the agency. It only takes a couple of $20,000 pops to unhinge a budget.
Correct.
And we recognize that we've had a couple.
Mhm.
So we just need to know where that contract is and what happened in that instance.
Not only
And that's
that,
sinuses, not COVID.
And I have been diligently looking for that contract. So.
not only that, I know I had asked, and a couple of other commissioners had asked last month about those additional monies that were being spent on consulting fees. Were those ever bidded out based upon the amount of money that was reported in finance?
Okay, let me just tell you this. Most of those contracts, probably all of those contracts came into play before I was executive director, so I would.
I mean, I understand that.
No, I'm just saying, I
I
don't
understand
know
that.
if they were bidded out properly.
Mhm.
I would assume that they was, but I don't know. So,
Well, if you could give us an
Can you-
update on those consultant, if there's a contract, if it fell under small contracts, or
Yeah,
what
based
exactly,
upon the money.
if it fell under, as far as, again, when we're being so closely scrutinized on where monies are and the basis of the spending of funds, and we know we got several hiccups in the procurement process, we just need to make sure that we're reporting and have a clear cut. I know that we had gotten some documents pertaining to MHA staff working on CAHC projects. If a person is listed as a member of the directors, board of directors, they cannot be paid from CAHC funds.
That is
No
true.
director is paid. Okay. The other part of that is we certainly, when it comes to, like with Madison Heights, those funds are handled by MHA staff. They're not in our coffers. So we don't have any control over any of that, so we should not, on the NCAAC side, have to contribute for stuff we don't got, okay? So I just want to be a voice of concern on behalf of the CAAC board as to how things are still set up, which for everybody can be confusing from time to time.
Yeah, these ones are the other miscellaneous dated July 31st.
Mr. Delaney, we don't want to,
I got one question.
okay.
On the financial report, it says other administrative costs. What is that $52,000 bill for Dale from? What is that? Or is that 2,000?
Okay.
On the other administrative costs, yeah, it's two, Dale is 2,000, about $2,500.
Is that on the central office cost?
Other administrative costs. Mhm.
And I'm sorry, which one, under what?
That Dale expenditure, $2,458.
Okay, I'm sorry, say that, it's on, what,
It's on the other administrative costs.
I know, for what property?
Dale,
I think it's the,
Dale?
it's under the COCC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's for Pitney Bowes.
Pitney Bowes, not Dale? Okay, any amount for, I would presume postage.
Postage, yeah.
Okay. So that's not the right name, it should be under that. So that's not the right name that it should be under then.
Yeah, we pay Pitney Bowes for postage.
I mean, that should say Pitney Bowes, not Dale.
Well, Dale is a line above that.
Yeah, Dale is.
Dale is the line above it, Dale Marketing. Who is Dale Marketing?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking, the 3,300.
Yes,
Well,
Dale.
there
What
have been laptops or like laptops we purchased
purchase for
for
whom?
staff, maybe staff, or I can look into it, but
Okay.
I believe those were laptops.
Okay, what about the ones that we already have on file?
Well, they may have been spread out, allocated. a little different.
No, I mean the five like the five that were bought previously by mistake,
Oh, I wouldn't.
and that we have surplus of live, where are those?
I wasn't aware of that we bought 5 by mistake.
We did.
Yeah, we did.
No, I'm saying I wasn't aware of that.
Well, we didn't, procurement did.
So nobody knows where those computers
I would
are.
ask my IT person.
No.
I haven't purchased any laptop.
Yeah, I didn't know we had some computers there.
No, we got computers in the server room, but I haven't purchased.
Yeah.
No, you
surplus.
didn't purchase.
No, you didn't purchase,
You didn't
but
purchase.
number
They
one that are
were
here.
purchased, out of CARES Act money earlier on,
And I'm saying why we got to purchase more,
well, like I said, if they were set up like ours,
right?
then I would see the staff couldn't. It would depend. Tam, you might want to take a look at what's there, but there are brand new computers
Yeah, they're
here
brand
somewhere
new.
that were originally purchased for the board.
Mm-hmm.
And they were aligned with the same type of computers that the folks in Section 8 were.
Right, same
And-
software. Section
And the
8.
software for Section 8. So we returned those and they then ordered us the correct kind. So I don't even know if somebody on the executive staff could use those.
See, not only that, there were, I think, 3 more, see, that checked out, for
Yeah.
other purposes.
Yeah, there's some computers around here. Yeah,
Some extras, they may still be here.
they
Okay.
should.
I just wanted, That's one.
So we ordered 2 hours new, right? You all got new ones.
Yeah.
Got a new ones twice.
Right, they ordered some, and then they took them back, and then they got some more. But then at the same time, I turned mine back in and got the iPad,
Mm-hmm.
so.
What happened was those computers had Section 8 software and
Mhm.
monitoring and all that. And can't.
Computers wasn't supposed to be open.
Yeah, they weren't supposed to be open, and how you gonna monitor the board, okay? So, that's why they got sent back. But, yeah, that's neither here nor there. Just trying to find out where they are.
Okay.
I get what you take your
So that's 5 extra computers that
Well,
Yeah,
we don't
more
know.
than that.
That's a minimum of 5,
Five.
okay? That we know about.
And it was 2 iPads also ordered at the same time.
Say that again.
It was also 2 iPads ordered at the same time.
Yeah, that we know about.
Because I got mine afterwards, because I got the computer first, and then the second computer came in, and then that's when I switched to the iPad, because I didn't know we could get iPads. So I turned mine back in, and I got the iPad.
Okay.
Okay. Legal, what is the status of our fair housing complaint? That's one that Mr. Chadwick has.
Okay, you said the Perry versus MHA case?
No, that's one Chadwick had. This is another young man.
This would have been at Paris Town.
Yeah.
Again, I am not familiar with that. Somebody
Yeah,
can
that's
forward.
Attorney Chad. He has that case.
Attorney who?
Chadwick.
Chadrick, can you forward that to me? And I can find out what the status is?
All right. So let me ask you a question on procurement. This probably has to do with development. Where is the status on the construction management contract? I mean,
Construction.
is that being held up, and if so, why? That's one with Diamond, the construction firm.
Again, I would have to look into that because I'm not aware of that, and I apologize for not knowing the other departments as well as I should, or.
Well, it goes to a point that Ms. Dickerson brought up, single source versus sole source. Those are two different things, okay? And I guess HUD is looking at it all as one. If someone goes out there, bids for something, and they don't bidder, I didn't see anything in the procurement CFR that would not allow for that single contract to move forward, even though it has to be well documented. I mean, single source means I'm gonna go out and say, this is the only person who can do this, I produce these type of goods. That's my definition. But HUD's not using that same definition. Okay. Anything else? Ms. Peterson?
Oh, yes, sir.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Mr. Jackson? All right, moving right along. Ms. Anthony?
No report.
Mr. Jones?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
The specs on the kiosks,
Uh-huh.
what has been told to us as far as their capabilities, fault tolerance, what has been told to us?
I literally just got, I sent an email to, we had two particular vendors that actually submitted bids.
Mhm.
One submitted a bid for the wrong thing. He sent a bid for a temperature gauge.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So I had to go out and actually try to find some other vendors, and I only have two for the kiosks. And one of them has a 98.14 fault tolerance, and the other one have a 99.9 fault tolerance.
So if they had to sit outside, that'd be good. I mean, that's a high-end operating temperature, right?
Yes. And one is Dino Touch and the other one is Advanced Kiosks.
What was their intake capabilities, and were they web enabled?
Yes, they're both web enabled, and we'll probably have to install a cable in the lobby, and I also did the measurements to make sure they're fit.
Neither one of those two are Wi-Fi capable?
They're Wi-Fi capable, but they recommend
Cable.
cable for a more secure connection.
Cat 5, Cat 6E?
Cat 6.
Okay. That's all I have. Anybody else? All right, Mr. Jackson?
I really don't have a report, other than our building. Our building right now, we, just got a, I guess you could say, maintenance tech. Things are starting to get done around the building as we speak. That's due to the help of the new maintenance tech and, Power Towers, Roy, their maintenance man who's been coming over and helping, catch up with their certain things. Other than that, I did get in contact with the vice president of the commission, the residential board for, Power Towers. And, we're trying to work
Hold
to.
on. If you're gonna have a conversation, please take it outside. All right, Mr. Jackson.
Getting in touch with them to try to start their meetings up. Apparently, they haven't had a meeting since before COVID. And I talked to the vice president, I think it was Saturday, and working to get that started back up. Paris Towers, I haven't heard any more about Paris Towers yet, due to the circumstances that trying to make contact with the management over there. Still going through craziness with that. I did talk to Josh with Gorman, and he said that he's trying to do whatever he can do. I think he's taking on Sonia's workload as far as taking over buildings and stuff like that.
No.
Well, I will, is anybody up there from Gorman?
No.
Well, I might as well bring it up now. I wanted to discuss it with them during their time slot, since they're not here.
Is there anyone on the call from Gorman? Anyone from Gorman?
Anybody up there? I discussed with Josh about this new bid book policy that they want to come out with, and want to charge the tenants for it, okay? So, I mean, and I have a problem with that. But I asked my colleagues, what are your thoughts? Because, I mean, I'm not for that.
Well, there's a lot of things there's a history of the bid book problem that we've had in our buildings, and a lot of it has been around the technique for getting rid of bed bugs in the first place. Whether or not there is any follow-up on behalf of staff after they have done the bed bug treatment to assure that whoever was doing the extermination was successful. And that has been the complaint from a lot of the residents that we've gotten. is that the bugs were never rid of the bed bugs to begin with. And then when they get out of control, then their staff is wanting to charge them again. So in all of the policies that happen in our building, I would hope that there would be some conversations with the residents to get both sides of the issue before policies are set. This is the whole reason why we have the resident councils in the first place, is so that there's some dialogue that goes on between management and the residents. So they're just not making the decisions with just part of the story. People have gotten rid of furniture, followed the rules, and done exactly what was asked of them, only to find out that the bed bugs were never gotten rid of. So the big part is the follow-up of the treatment to make sure that the bugs were gotten rid of in the first place.
And that it shouldn't be punitive, meaning that they shouldn't be charged with fee for this.
And I think the origin, because like I said, it may not be that person's individual's apartment.
Mhm.
They may be coming from an adjoining apartment or a downstairs apartment. I think at some point, there has to be some more done on staff's part to deal with the origination of where the infestation is coming from, and if in fact the treatment to get rid of the infestation is successful. And that only comes, I think it says, what, three days after they've been sprayed for, because residents shouldn't have to contend with that
No.
if they're not the ones who are causing the problems, nor should they be charged.
No.
So I think it causes a lot more thought process going into that based on the complaints that the board has received from the residents.
Hey, I'm sorry, Commissioner, do you mind, can I just make a statement, only because Gorman is not on the line, and I've had conversations with Gorman regarding this issue, because we did have some complaints from the tenants about the bed bugs. Gorman replied to me that one of the issues that they're having that's causing the ongoing issue with the bed bugs is some of the residents are dumpster diving and bringing in some furniture that they have maybe gotten from the dumpster, and one individual in particular who they know did that and brought some of the information, some of the furniture in, won't allow them entry to his apartment to manage the bed bugs. So that's one of the issues in terms of setting policies and things like that, because they weren't sure if they could set a policy that states that you cannot bring furniture of that nature into the building because it's causing an ongoing issue with the bed bugs. So that, I just wanted to put that, let you all know that I did have a conversation with Gorman regarding that issue, and that was one of their major concerns.
And again,
Same could be said if they got.
And again, they got resident councils there
Come on
that
now.
can also help manage that problem with them if they're including them in the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, like I said, same could be said if they got some goodwill.
yeah.
So, I mean, let's address the issue of bed bugs. If we want to say that any furniture is donated, whether they got it off the street corner, I think that's something that needs to be decided here. But we need to decide something, okay? Because if we allow, okay, you say you can't get it out of the dumpster or sitting on the
Next
corner,
year.
you can't get it from Goodwill either, okay? Because where you think they get their stuff from?
Yeah. And that was the concern. How do you move forward with those exact concerns that you have, Commissioner? That was the issue that they were trying to address and trying to resolve. So yes, I agree with you. And in the conversation that we had, they do too.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir.
I did research on that situation with bed bugs, period, and with the high rises. The origination's source of bed bugs, and this is shocking to me as well as be to you, is how they contain these bed bugs. A lot of people don't understand that you can get rid of the bed bugs, you can get rid of your furniture and everything, but it's a continuous cycle that half the people do public transportation, where you originate from there. And a second one is really shocking, is hospitals. You go to hospitals, you get the bed bugs, you come back. Bed bugs do not just stay still, they jump from one person to another. You
They're
can walk
not like
outside.
the hitchhikers.
Right, you can walk outside and walk next to somebody that you don't even look like they got bed bugs, and take that bed bug home, they multiply quickly. And, my source is, like you said, people have done what they're
Exactly.
supposed to do. It's just, it's an ongoing cycle. I mean, you can control it, maybe, but totally get rid of them, no. Bed bugs have been around since prehistoric days. They're hard to kill. I mean, I did research on them just to find out what
Put
they.
that heat on them.
Yeah, and the heat is just half of them, because I've seen units. There's one gentleman, he had a unit that his infestation was so bad, they had to do 3 treatments back to back. And when I walked into the apartment after they moved all his stuff out, I'm looking on the floor, and I'm seeing these like little pellets. They were bed bugs. They had got that big that they would, they bust open after the heat treatment. And like I said, bed bugs are hard to get rid of. I mean, all you can do is control them, and like people are gonna forever ride the bus. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna forever do, public transportation. That's what the majority of people do. And then you look at the people who do have bed bugs, they go to their car, they don't think their car got them, but then the apartment gets starved, then they go back to the car, they get more, bring it back to the apartment. So I understand what y'all saying, but it's never going, to me, then it's hard, You can probably control them. Cause like our building right now, I'm proud to say, our building now has controlled bed bugs to the point that we don't see the truck out there every single day. I'm understanding now, my biggest complaint in the building that comes from now is Paris. Paris is like, it's there, and it's always been there. I mean, they always had led all the high rises in bed bugs treat. The people there, like she said, people go out there in the dumpster, they grab furniture, oh, this look good. I see people set furniture out in the hallways. And you sit them out in the hallway, people who might not have bed bugs walk past there, bed bug jump on, and they take them back to your apartment. So,
Let me ask you a question, and I'm just asking this because I don't know. So if they treat a unit in your building for bed bugs, do they just treat that unit, or do they treat the above unit, next door,
well, the way they were
underneath?
doing it at first like that, I'm glad you asked that, the way they were doing it, they would treat not only that apartment, but they would treat the apartments on both sides and the apartment
Up
down
and
below
down.
and up. But that's the way they were doing it.
That's how they supposed to
I'm
do it.
not
Yeah,
for
that
sure,
was our policy.
I'm not for sure if they still do it that way because of the cost, because my understanding is like $900 to $1,000 per treatment.
Yeah, but see, before Gorman came in, that was our policy. That's how it was done,
So,
up and down, left and right.
so
Right.
what we're saying is there's still conversation for a policy before a policy actually is put into place.
Mhm.
Of how we move forward with bed bugs, and who gets to charge it. Who
Cause see,
charge
like,
for it?
my thing is, like you said though, the way they doing it now, to me, that's just getting extra money. Cause I mean, you know, you're not gonna get rid of bed bugs.
Because bed
So
bug
therefore-
can come through the sockets, that's how,
Yeah.
so if you
They
don't
can-
treat
They come through anyway, but
everywhere
the
around.
majority is like,
you're
when
not
you
gonna
stand
get
next to somebody on the elevator, you don't know they got bed bugs. Cause they go to clothes, they jump.
Yeah, but see, to go to what Director Laney said, if it's a circular approach,
Yeah, you're supposed to
up
do
and
that.
down, left and right, and the unit itself,
Mhm.
it's kinda hard not to get them out.
Yeah, but see, like I said, they might not be doing that because of the cost, because you're looking at right there, that's $5,000. It's about $1,000 a unit, so you gotta look at that money, because, I mean, I take a long look at the stuff around us, like garbage, yard, landscaping and stuff like that. Okay, you see that not getting done, so you imagine, okay, you can't pay for that to get done, how you gonna pay for when it come down to bed bugs and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Because that's what my issue is.
That's
It's
a
just
little
like we
different,
just
though.
got the trash.
That's a
We just
little
got the
different,
trash
you
bins,
can't,
and
you
we
can
had trash
live
bins.
with the lawn
Oh,
being
two
up, but you can't live with bed bugs. I know I can't live with no bed
I
bugs.
can't do it right now, I don't wanna deal with the bed bug, because they suck the blood out of it.
But anyway,
And see, they not, I mean, and two, a lot of times, I think a lot of these people getting sick is caused by bed bugs.
Could be.
You know, because the bed bugs, I mean, And besides the point of the mold and mildew that you have already gotta deal with that. And, you know,
But I guess I'm concerned that these buildings were just turned over in 2018. And we're talking about 3 years that, well, really, they were completed in 2019. So we're just talking about 2 years in to renovated buildings. And you're talking about mold, trash not being done, the lawn looking like, you and I both commented on the
Yeah.
lawn the
Mhm.
other day when we were over there. Because it seems to me you're not really doing a lawn when you cut the grass and you cut the
Trash
paper
up.
and trash up in the lawn.
Making a big
And
list
that
of
was
what was
happening
there.
at Cumberland. So, it just may need to be a time when we visit with Gorman.
What's the situation with mold?
Yeah, and while you got mold.
Yeah, what's the situation, what's the
Let
situation?
me tell you one of the situations with the mold, and a lot of people do it all the time. One of the things that cause the mold is, say for instance, we have lots of people who have their air conditioners on. Okay, you have your air conditioner on, and say you got your air conditioner too hot and it gets cold. First thing they do, they open up patio doors. When you open that patio door, the condensation comes in from that heat and that cold. You can look in the first place it is right where the air conditioning units are inside the closets. That's the first place you look at, and you can see mold starting to form in there.
How often is that inspected?
It's pretty much, I mean, and it's not just the mold for that. Other parts of other parts of your unit are being affected as well when you do that, because like the cabinets, there's a panel that goes right beside where the stove is. That panel, and I've seen it in several units, where you open that door and it's cold and hot mixing together, that panel starts to pull off that wall.
Warp,
Yeah, it starts warping.
warping?
And it's like, you know, and a lot of people say, well, they ain't put no, you know, well-made stuff in here. And it's just, I mean, you know, something to think about. I mean, the people, rules are not followed too. I mean, come on now, some of these people will not follow no rules. They'll tell them in a minute, do this, they won't care. And then when they finally get the repercussion behind it, then they like, well, y'all didn't tell me that.
It sounds like there needs to be a resident meeting combined
It
with a
does.
staff meeting. So,
It does. And then, like I said, that's one of the reasons I was talking to you last meeting, that we need to get Gorman down here and have residents meet. Gorman need to come down here and talk to these people. They
Well, not only that, the residents need to come together and get
And
a
talk to
stronger
themselves.
resident council and talk to each
Yeah,
other.
that
So,
help
I
too,
mean-
but I mean, if the place ain't got no money to do this stuff, I mean, Gorman's sitting up there and it's like, you know,
Well-
they just pointing fingers. And this stuff,
No,
I mean.
it's not whether they have any money. If
No, it's
these
not.
are life-threatening issues
Exactly.
based upon the
But the
inspection
reason I say
standards.
it's money,
and all
the
that.
reason I think it's money, because of the fact that, I mean, if you go do, okay, like, for instance, we just got our bins Monday. And it's been almost 3 weeks to a month that we had not had any bins out there.
Garbage bin?
Yes.
Well,
Mm.
a
So
lot
then-
of that has to
It's
do
too
with
hot
the
for
city
that.
too.
Yeah.
Can we
because,
do this, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
Can we, ask for a sit down with Gorman, because we're not gonna resolve that today. So can we
Well,
ask
let
for?
me
And
make a
Gorman
suggestion.
is CAC property.
Yeah, let me make a suggestion that, there needs to be a three-way. Residents need to be talked to, they need to be educated, with Gorman sitting at the table.
The initial, I think there needs to be a total inspection of the buildings in West End.
I agree with you.
So, we
That
just
being
need,
said, you
Yeah.
definitely do,
Yeah,
because,
so-
Yeah, I agree with you.
I'm looking at, like you said, after these buildings get handed back to, going back to MHA, we back to square one again.
CAC.
They going to CAC.
They'll be
has
back
a-
to
is a general
CAC.
Well, I
partner.
mean, CAC, I'm sorry.
Is a general partner.
Yeah, so
But, like I said, by the time you get them back, it's
we're gonna need to clean them
yeah,
up
you're gonna have to
again.
do it all over again.
Well, mold is a life-threatening issue.
It is.
And,
It is.
my thing is, they're under Section 8. Section 8 has inspectors. People need to call. I don't know if we still have a inspection contract or not, but that was the whole reason why. Because they do have the right to call the city. The city can inspect any property in the city limits. So now you got a double whammy.
Exactly.
So is that a recommendation, Ms. Anthony?
Yes, sir. Recommendation is that we talk to Gorman about an inspection and about a meeting, and that, again, that we reinforce the resident council. I'm sorry, I'm just always know that everything in the buildings go better when there's a strong resident council. And getting them to where they're documenting and they're meeting with staff on a regular basis to get these things addressed. It's just gonna make it flow a lot better. And that they are a part of the decision-making process, which is what HUD set it up to be. So I just think we just need to also work with Commissioner Jackson to get a stronger resident council in place.
Can I take a personal privilege before we go into old business? May I?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes, sir.
front and center, please. How you doing today?
I'm good. How you doing?
I just want to know, what's your situation over at Elm Street?
Well, we don't have any security.
Well, I don't mean no disrespect to Mr. Delaney.
No
but
disrespect to
I
taking.
Need to find out.
Okay, well, since I've been over there, I got my tenants in there, they say pretty good. We don't have any security, but we haven't had any issues since you pulled it.
Okay.
So I see them on my cameras, I can still see what everybody is doing, and I made them aware, and the police hasn't been out. The first weekend they did, but they haven't been out since.
How well do you communicate with the 12th Street station?
I have a couple of contacts with officers that I asked to ride by the building, even to come and do some walkthroughs.
Okay.
So it's going pretty good. I think I've gotten them where they know I can see them, and if I don't get them now, I'll get them later, so they don't do much over there.
Are they organized enough for where they will call the police? Or
Yes,
come,
sir.
or come talk to you?
Yes, sir. I've told them at this point right now, do the same thing security would do, and if there's a problem, to call the police. They have my phone number, and I keep it on my hip, and I live 10 minutes away, and I've been up there on weekends and whatever, so I'm willing to go up there and make it work until we
You
get
going
some.
above and beyond.
I care about my tenants. I got a few elderly people over there, and they depending on me, and I done made them some promises, and I'm trying to hold up to them, and I'm gonna make sure everything gonna go right over here.
Okay.
I told Miss Lita, they're tearing the houses down across the street. The city is demolishing them, they actually started tearing them down, so somebody mentioned one day may be some property we wanna look at. I just thought I'd let
If
y'all.
land bank don't get it first.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Always open up.
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Lowe, we making it happen,
Okay.
and it's going pretty good. Ain't been no fights, ain't been no.
Yeah, I haven't heard a whole lot of complaints. I have not heard a whole lot of complaints over at Elm Street.
No, so I told them they can call me first. I try to cut it off
Okay.
from getting too long.
Anybody else?
Candace, we thank you for what you're doing, not only in improving our building, but what you've done to improve yourself in the job, which is something that we've pushed since before 2018 to get people to want a path of success in this agency by getting their degrees, by getting their certifications, because there's always opportunities that you just don't know when you lay down one night and you wake up the next morning. And success is when you are prepared when that opportunity comes. So we want to thank you for doing those things to improve yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. All right, there's no Gorman on the line. I'll take front and center. Hello?
Good afternoon, Chairman Lowe and Commissioners. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
There are two issues that I wanted to report to you. One is We are still waiting for HUD's response, and I don't know what the Housing Authority or CHC's position is in that regard. But if you wish to expedite that process, we need the Housing Authority to liaise with HUD and see where they are with their review. We have sent several emails and tried to call them. They have not responded to us. So we were hoping that they would handle that one. And the second issue outstanding was a resolution by the board about the management issues and the funding issues. Those are still outstanding, and we hope to hear from you on those. And thirdly, we received an email with some questions. We thought we have answered them. We want to make sure that all the questions were answered. If there are any more questions that we need to respond to.
Commissioners, colleagues, any questions?
The first thing I think we need to resolve is the issue about the property management piece. Your team had promised us that they had within their hand a extension contract. Because we have been going back and forth on this, and I'm just, when I hear a situation 2 or 3 times and it hadn't moved, it's time to deal with it up or down. And certainly we met back a couple of weeks, last Tuesday as a matter of fact, and in an effort to find out where we are in the management contract of the properties. And as I commented to you before, if you don't have it, then it doesn't exist. It is not something that the board has ever thought existed because of HUD rules when it comes to internal controls, lack of quality, and certainly we had gotten to the issue of quality as a reason for even broaching the conversation about terminating contract in the first place. So we're at a point without that existence, and again, Mr. Chairman, this was a contract that not CAAC made, but it was one that MHA made. And according to the review of the contract actually expired on July 27th. And without there being any indicator that there's anything to extend that contract.
Correctly. June 28th, correctly.
June
28th.
Okay.
I just pulled it up.
I don't have a copy of the contract, the chairman does. So it is up to MHA, since it's an MHA contract, for you to do what you do and for us to go ahead and put that one to bed.
I have some confusion with that.
Either we got a contract.
No. I mean, CAC has the general interest.
But we did not make that contract.
99.9% of it.
But we did not make that
No,
contract.
you didn't make that contract.
And that contract is the only thing that we need to make a decision on.
Because MHA still has the allocation from the ACC, Daniel Contribution Contract,
And
for those funds for that site.
so CAAC needs to work in conjunction
With
MHA to
Now,
make sure.
I
we
stand
have
to be
appropriate
corrected. I stand to be corrected.
The funding for Madison Heights and Homes at Granite Mountain, even though we own
The general partnership.
the general partnership, the funding for those entities still come to MHA. That has been our argument for the last
From
6
day one.
months. So, in taking back over the property, and these are conversations also for our CAAC meeting, but we need whatever dialogue you're going to have for the MHA meeting and where you are with this contract to take place before we.
Well, like I said 2 weeks ago, I'll entertain a motion to cancel a contract.
That contract is not cancelable if it's expired.
Well, some motion to have our own people managing our property.
The motion.
Where the motion where we retain the bank accounts, keys, waiting lists, put our own folks over there.
Motion to reclaim Madison Heights based on the expiration of the contract being as of June, and based on the fact that there is no extension contract, that we place, CAHC employees, as property managers over our property, effective as of August 31.
Second.
We move properly second, that we move our personnel over to our properties to maintain management, as effective as of August 31st.
And that we work with Mr. Delaney.
That we work with MHA staff to have that transition occur. You hear me, Ms. Peterson?
Yes, sir, I hear you.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, none. Motion has been passed. So effective as of August 31st, MHA will manage those properties.
CAHC.
Well, CAC will manage those properties.
Now, the other two components had to do with the RAD deal itself. That was a part of the questioning that we sent to you. One is the co-development, and Botkin, I've got to say to you that, you know, this co-development role that CAAC is now in is not something we asked for. It's not something that we really embrace, but I think since it is part of the paperwork, it is part of how the deal is being done, then we have to be respected as an equal partner in the deal. So as the other co-developer, which is what ITEX is at this point, not the developer, but co-developing with CAAC, that when it comes to finances, if we are in fact dealing in good faith, which good faith is extended to ITEX as well as CAHC, there should be no major big bone to pick about how funding our fees coming back should be disseminated. I'm not aware that any past conversation, we tried to embrace that conversation about leftover proceeds after the construction is finished. There were a couple of hiccups that we had and that had to do with the loan that was made for $9 million when McCormick Barron, was it McCormick Barron that we were paying off with $6 million, which still left.
No, we're paying off Walker Dunlap.
Was it Walker Dunlap?
Yeah, with the loan proceeds.
Was it 6 or 5?
6.5.
$6.5 million, and then there was funding that was going into the deal but we were making a loan that was going to have to be paid by CAC, by the agency for $9 million. So we were concerned about where all that money went into, and we've heard in the past that it went into the deal. As a co-developer, that's concerning, that we had to that we're going to be responsible for a loan, and it's a CAC MHA loan that for $9 million. But I don't ever remember, and like I said, I know you've had a lot of conversations since 2016, but I don't remember there being a conversation about the division of the leftover proceeds after construction. And certainly that can be a lot of money, depending on costs and expenditures. And no one co-developer should walk away with all those proceeds. And I just don't see that if we're which means equal, that there can be any other conversation but a 50-50 split. I don't know what was on the minds of those folks who came before us in talking about development fees. Why would you write yourself out of a deal that's 70% going to a co-developer? Because I'm certain they had knowledge that we were co-developers. A co-developer getting 70% and you're only maintaining 30% for yourself. But at the end of the day, Botkin, with you having knowledge of how housing authorities work, at the end of the day, regardless to what those folks sat at the table and tried to negotiate, it still has to pass the smell test by the board. And the board still retains the authority to tweak or change or request change once something comes to our knowledge. So we're hung on those two areas of the finance of the deal, is where we are with development fees as a co, and where we are on the proceeds after the construction as a co-developer. So, again, in good faith, this should not be a major hill for us to get over. But I would hope in the Tuesday meeting, not to belabor this situation, we have a decision as to where we're headed with that by Tuesday in the weekly meeting.
Okay, that's fine. Your question number one, there will be no money left over at the end of construction. That's the first answer. We are going to try to maximize the construction cost and to make sure that all the money spent, because the money that is spent will benefit the project by bringing more equity in. And I don't anticipate any money left over from construction. If any, there would be shortfall that we have to scramble and find out additional funds to cover. But if there is anything left over, that would basically be used as a permanent loan. That's number one. On number two, a typical structure of RAD is when the housing authorities, and we have done a couple dozen of these, housing authorities solicit co-developers to do the development with them because of their expertise and ability to guarantee. MHA issued an RFP, selected ITEX. The negotiations where our proposal was 70-30 and was accepted, and MOU was drafted. And the way these things work across the country, housing authorities generally are not part of the deal. They have a development instrumentality that becomes their instrument as a co-developer into the deal to have the ability to, at the end of the 15-year compliance period, to take back the property. That co-development step that CHC is given, that's a proxy for MHA co-development arm. The 30-70 distribution is 70 to IPEX, 30 to MHA/CHC under that structure. Now, CHC apparently is trying to change that to the extent that is permissible under the agreements or law. There's 30% going to MHA and CHC. Now, however, you want to distribute that amongst yourself, that is your prerogative. But from the beginning, CHC was considered to be an instrumentality of MHA and a proxy for MHA to receive the difference. The loan that you were talking about, 9 million, I'm assuming you are talking about the loan from seller financing. At the time, the ownership was represented to be by MHA of the properties. Typically, again, on the RAD conversion transaction, the ownership, MHA or housing authorities, sell the property to the new ownership. That's how we get additional tax credit for the acquisition part of it. That money, that's a loan that CHC or whoever that we choose, who's the recipient of the sales proceeds, is making to the property. At the end of the 15-year, the limited partner who will own 99.9% of the partnership. They will exit. And the only two loans standing on the property would be the first mortgage and CHC loan. And after reduction in the amount of the first mortgage loan over time, the value added in the property will be able to compensate CHC for its loan. That's how they are structured. So I don't really understand where the difference is coming from. The main issue, I think, is something that needs to be sorted out between CAC and MHA as to what that relationship is. Because from developers' perspective, from RAD perspective, from all the lenders' investor perspective, CAC is considered to be an instrumentality of MHA, and as such, operates on their behalf.
Can't be both.
No.
Can't.
Again,
Can't be both.
no.
You can't be co-developer and be an instrumentality, because instrumentalities come in on the back end of the deal and not in the deal.
Can you speak up, Chairman, though? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I said that can't coexist. They can't be co-developer and be an instrumentality, because instrumentalities come in on the back end of a RAD deal instead of being in the RAD deal.
Yeah. And again, I hear what you're saying, and this is not our first RAD deal.
Nope.
And yes, we know that we can get to a 50% development fee relationship. And those development fees, because it does come to the back end of the instrumentality, which is CACH, which is how we operate now, that can happen. We do know that there's, and again, we cannot address issues until we know about them.
Correct.
And once we know about them, boards are getting kicked in the head all the time about what happens in agencies. And a lot of times, it is not the board that has caused the issue. But once an issue that comes to the board's attention, we are obligated to make sure that whatever the outcome is, it is in the best interest of the agency. A 70-30 split is not in the best interest of this agency. I don't know what the folks were thinking when they even allowed that conversation to come across. But again, it's now at the board's level, and more appropriately, CACH is a co-developer. That is in all kinds of language that you've been sending to us here of late. And that has to be recognizable as we continue to discuss negotiations. I've heard you say that there won't be any monies left, but I don't think you can guarantee that. And so we do want that language still there, because I'd hate for there to be $2 million left over, and then ITEX gets to take a trip to the Bahamas, and we're left at home. Whatever that bottom line is, because a lot of things can happen. You're right, we could need to come up with additional funds, but I think that I'd rather err on the part of the language being included than it not. The other part of that is that development fee is still a discussable issue. So I don't want to belabor that today. I want us to come back and visit it on Tuesday. So in the call that normally takes place on Tuesday, the construction call, and then we will decide what we do from there.
Okay.
Is there, I don't have any other issues for, I know we're getting some paperwork cleaned up and straightened out with our attorneys and moving on some other things that we read as we work through this process. We have been caught blind on a couple of occasions where we might have signed something that we didn't read, because there should be trust. We should be able to trust the people who work for this agency. But sometimes what they're agreeing to is not agreeable to us. So we are reading through the documentation that is being provided to us to make sure, again, the viability of this agency rests and rules with the board itself. So knowing that you know that, please be patient with us while we take these steps.
Anything further?
Not from me.
Nothing for me.
All right,
Design group.
that moves on. Thank you, Mr. Bobkins. Brittany,
Yes, sir.
you're all up next.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
So where we are right now, we are still in the process of redesigning the MHA website. but we are, I believe, still waiting on the go-ahead for the budget on that redesign.
I haven't seen any budget.
Well, the question I had was, has the, operational use of the website been decided? Because right now, it's just a brochure website. Meaning come in, seeing stuff there, not really having an operational function. Has the use been decided upon?
Well, the way that we are redesigning the site, it would function really, I mean, I guess it would still be functioning as a brochure site, but it would also be a place where landlords and residents can access the necessary documents and information that they would need.
Okay. Have you had that discussion, Mr. Delaney?
No,
You're not aware?
not aware of it.
Brittany, of course, you know that there's been some adjustments here at MHA.
Yeah.
And Mr. Delaney is getting access to information that previously wasn't his. And a lot of this I know has come through the procurement department, which is another serious situation. But anyway, we probably need for you to get with Mr. Delaney and share the information that you have to this point so that we can get on with that.
Okay, we will reach out to Mr. Delaney and to schedule a meeting.
And it's going to be kind of likewise with CAAC. Mr. Lindsay and Commissioner Lindsay and Chairman Lowe had agreed to work with you on the creation of the website, especially on the historic part. And sometimes they have to be prodded to remember what their commitment is. But we did agree on the CAAC side what the cards and the letterhead, and I do have the information for you of what those cards should say, and I'll be forwarding that to you later on today. So we're moving along to try to get CACH much more established.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Ms. Wells, I don't think it's gonna take too long. It's just, you know, the layout and the functionality of what we wanna do with that website. I don't think that's gonna take too long.
I agree.
Brittany,
I'm
sorry. We appreciate all that design groups do for us and keeping us visible to the community.
Watch out now.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It is our pleasure to serve you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Now, new business. First and foremost, let me take another point of privilege.
Granted.
Mr. Delaney, he gave your staff a pat on the back for these numbers. Best numbers I've ever seen, and I've been on here 9 years. Love it. You can give them an attaboy, attagirl. Love these numbers on these charge-offs.
They are the best they've been, and it speaks to the need for housing in our community. That once people are getting somewhere, once they actually have the opportunity to get into housing, they're not leaving.
There you go.
That they are staying put. Pandemic or not, people are not moving once they get in. Once they're given the opportunity to have housing, they're doing what they can to maintain it. And we go back to what's happening financially in our community. of all the opportunity, and I hate to keep bringing Candace up, but when somebody does a good job, you need to tell them
Let
so.
them know, right.
Candace went out of her way to make sure that funding was there for the residents, in setting up her computer and working with the different agencies that had money to pay rent. And that rent was sent directly, those rent payments, some of them were, what, a whole year, Candace? And they paid 3 months in arrears? Okay, so we're talking about 15 months of money that people had. And so when we're hearing people saying, you know, we got an eviction rate, or we got this going on or that going on, we know that there are remedies for that.
Yeah, that's what we have to
And
find.
it's not done in one day.
No.
It's not. It's the persistence of those property managers when they are willing to work with folk to get that money, and it's there. I visited with DHS, visited with Fred Love, to make sure that our folk can get some access to that money. And then we're sitting here with, some 50 more vouchers that people have access to. So, I mean, eviction notices should not be happening, not for our folk.
Not for our folks. Yeah, like I said, those numbers look great.
They
They
sure
look great. First time I ever saw a site come back with 0% write-off.
It's great.
So yeah, you staff take a bow. All right, anything further, Mr. Delaney?
Nope, I haven't, nothing else.
Ms. Peterson, you have anything?
Did she drop off? I don't see her.
She ain't back on.
Um,
Ms. Peterson?
she's not on. And
Okay.
somebody's been trying to connect audio during this whole call.
That'll be all right.
Ms. Peterson had to drop off for a second.
That's all right. Do we have an executive session?
I don't have anything. Mr. Eddings? Mr. Eddings?
He's muted.
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, sir. There is gonna be a request for your time either later today or, tomorrow. So, there's some things that we need to work through that your expertise is needed.
That'd be fine, just,
Don't tell us that.
let me know. You let me know when and where I need to be, and I'll make myself available.
Mr. Chairman, since that meeting needs to be primarily with you.
Well, let me say this, if there are more than.
There will not be, you've taught us well.
Say again?
You've taught us well. It'll only be the chairman and you and possibly Mr. Delaney.
All right, I just want to make sure we stay between the guardrails.
Yes, sir. You know I ain't trying to get hit.
Okay.
So, I would ask, the chairman,
What's today? Thursday?
today is Thursday, the 19th.
I got a doctor's appointment Monday.
We're waiting on Grandpa, Mr. Eddings.
Yeah, trying to, yeah.
Can you do it on Monday?
I got two doctor's appointments.
Can you do it on Tuesday?
That's what I'm thinking. I ain't got, what, to 24? Yeah, I ain't got that.
No, Tuesday. Mr. Eddings, can we set up something here in the building, on Tuesday? Mr. Delaney, what time is good for you?
I'll be traveling Tuesday, but, yeah, and that's,
Wednesday?
I can do it Wednesday, I'll zoom in. I can do it.
Okay, Wednesday, is Wednesday,
Wednesday, 25th?
yeah.
Probably have to zoom it up.
And we can, what time do you guys wanna meet? See, you have to prod folks, you know, you have to get, we got all three of y'all in the room at the same time, so we have to prod.
That's fine, afternoon,
Afternoon?
morning, afternoon, it doesn't.
2 o'clock sound good, Mr. Eddings?
2 o'clock is, fantastic.
Okay, 2 o'clock Wednesday?
Wednesday, the 25th.
Yes, sir.
Got it on my calendar.
All right, sir, that's all I have. I'll, thank you, sir. I'll send it through you.
All right, no need for executive session?
No, sir.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
We got a resolution on the floor.
Oh, you got resolution
About the write-offs.
about the write-off.
Yeah.
Motion to, pass resolution, 6786. Need a second. Motion? Mr. Jackson?
Motion,
I need a second.
second.
Okay.
I have seen it, I'm sorry.
It's been moved and probably second, for the adoption of resolution 6786. All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, nay. Motion has been approved.
Just a very quick, CAAC meeting to talk about some organizational things.
All righty then.
First of all, I think we got a good report from, we need to get a roll call.
Wait a minute, motion ain't been adjourned yet.
Yes, we have.
I need a motion to adjourn.
I did say motion to adjourn.
No, we did the resolution.
Motion to adjourn, Grandpa.
Been moved and properly second. That the meeting be adjourned. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, then we are adjourned.
Pass it down.
What?